Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we've put together our all-time La Liga 11. We're sure you're all sick to death by now of hearing about Messi and Ronaldo, so we've left them out. But don't worry, we've picked some absolute legends in their place. Goalkeeper, Iker Casillas. We start off our 11 with Real Madrid's last local leader. Iker Casillas was born in the suburb of Móstoles, 25 kilometres from the Bernabeu, and he joined up the Los Blancos ranks aged 9. By the age of 18, he'd earned his place as Madrid's number 1, and aside from a few months in the 2001-2 season, went unchallenged for 13 years. In 2000, he became the youngest goalkeeper in history to appear in a Champions League final, just 4 days after his 19th birthday. Madrid beat Valencia 3-0 to lift the cup, kicking off years of glittering success for young Casillas. Over the next 14 seasons, he would eventually earn club captaincy and took home a haul of 5 La Ligas, 3 Champions Leagues and 2 Copas del Rey, not to mention making the FIFA Pro World 11 for 5 consecutive seasons between 2008 and 2012. He was so good that the likes of Pepe Reina and Victor Valdez, both world-class keepers, couldn't get a look in for the national team. Right back, Dani Alves. Dani Alves arrived in Spain from Brazil in 2002, aged just 19, and he quickly established his place on the right of Sevilla's defence. 4 years later, he won his first silverware with the club as the Andalusians lifted the UEFA Cup, and this prompted interest from Liverpool. But somehow, the Reds weren't willing to meet Alves' £8 million valuation. Just as well as the marauding right-back left the Ramon Sanchez-Pizjuan 2 years later for Barcelona, where his tenacious performances and telepathic relationship with Lionel Messi became a hallmark of Guardiola's golden era and turned him into a legend of the game. By the time he left the Blaugrana in 2016, Alves had notched up 100 league assists, behind only Messi and Luis Figo, and above the likes of Zinedine Zidane and Ronaldinho. Undoubtedly one of the greatest fullbacks of all time, this one was a no-brainer. Centre-back, Ronald Koeman. For our first centre-half position, we go back to the Camp Nou's previous golden age. In 1988, Johan Cruyff returned to the club as manager and a year later signed one of his Ajax protégés to join him in Catalonia. That man was Ronald Koeman, and he was a once-in-a-lifetime defender. The footballer likened to Tintin by the Blaugrana faithful was by no means fast, but his exceptional positioning, passing and reading of the game made him integral to the success of Cruyff's famous dream team. But what made Koeman stand out most was his goal-scoring prowess. In 192 La Liga appearances, the Dutch defender scored 67 times. That means he averaged better than a goal every 3 games, which I'm sure you'll agree is absolutely mental. The free-kick specialist had his best tally in 1991-92, scoring 16 in the league. That's just one less than Hristo Stoichkov managed, and topped it off by belting in the winner in the European Cup final. Centre-back, Jose Santamaria. There could be no better partner for the ball-playing mastery of Koeman than a man nicknamed The Wall. Jose Santamaria was already a notorious defender when he arrived at Real Madrid in 1958, having starred for Uruguay at the 1954 World Cup and winning a number of titles in his home country. Aged 28, nobody really expected him to hold down a place in the first team for 9 years, but that's exactly what he did. Unbelievably strong, an interception king and a beast in the air, Santamaria ruled at the back for one of the greatest club sides in history and picked up 6 La Liga titles for his tireless work. In his final season at the Bernabeu, the Uruguayan general lifted his 4th European Cup, 12 weeks shy of his 37th birthday. What a man. Left back, Roberto Carlos. We had a bit of trouble with our left-back position. Merengue's veterans will probably be shouting for Jose Antonio Camacho, who won 9 La Ligas at the Bernabeu in the 70s and 80s. But few fullbacks can compare to the monster that is Roberto Carlos. After moving to Madrid from Inter Milan in 1996, Roberto Carlos was a servant to Los Blancos for the entirety of the Galacticos era, and was ever present throughout. The footballer with thighs as wide as the Amazon was an explosion down the left for Real Madrid, and was quite possibly the most powerful man under 1.70 m to grace the game. According to Vicente del Bosque, he could cover the entire left wing on his own. Like Koeman, the player nicknamed the Bullet Man was known for his rasping free kicks, and although he was nowhere near as prolific as the Dutchman, still bagged 47 league goals for Real, while securing 4 La Liga titles and 3 Champions Leagues on the way. Midfielder, Pep Guardiola. He may be more famous now for his work as a manager, but Pep Guardiola started his legendary journey in Barcelona's La Masia Academy at the age of 13. Born in Santamaria, a small town behind the mountain ranges which border the Catalan capital, Guardiola grew into one of the world's greatest deep-lying playmakers at the Camp Nou. Promoted to the first team by Johan Cruyff in 1990, he was the heart of the dream team which won 4 consecutive La Liga titles between 1990 and 1994. And won another 2 as captain under Louis van Gaal towards the end of the decade. His tactical maturity and technical excellence were perfect for Cruyff's revolution at Barca, and his play went on to influence the likes of Andrea Pirlo and Sergio Busquets, to name just a few. Midfielder, Xavi. A midfielder from the next generation of Barca greats now, Xavi was in many ways the defining player of the Blaugrana's 21st century dynasty. Breaking into the first team just as Guardiola's playing days at the Camp Nou were winding down, Xavi was similar to the man who would later become his coach for his love of passing, something he claims has been a big part of his game since his days playing on the street as a kid. It would come to embody the playing style of Barcelona and Spain for many years. A man who could control the tempo of a game with his touch and vision as if it were as easy as lying on a beach. We don't even need to go anywhere near Xavi's gigantic trophy cabinet to admire his brilliance. Lionel Messi named him the greatest player in Spain's history, while fellow playmaker Thiago Alcantara put it better than anyone. By doing simple things, he could make great things happen. Absolutely spot on. Midfielder, Johan Cruyff. Completing our Barcelona triplet in midfield is the man who orchestrated all the magic of the club's modern history. And he wasn't half bad as a player either. Arriving at the Camp Nou for a world record fee in 1973, Johan Cruyff had already been at the centre of the total football revolution in the Netherlands with Ajax. But he became an honorary Catalan almost instantly, naming his son Jordi after the region's patron saint and helping the Blaugrana to a first La Liga title in 14 years. That campaign featured a historic 5-0 victory over rivals Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, in which Cruyff was obviously instrumental. A man who rightly claimed that football is a game you play with your brain, there may well be no player more influential than Cruyff in the modern history of the sport. His all-action approach and ability to control the game as a deep-lying forward inspired the likes of Maradona and Messi, and he remains one of the few footballing figures to have had a skill named after him. Forward, Alfredo Di Stefano. Back to the Bernabeu as we kick off our attack, and arguably the most iconic player in Real Madrid's illustrious history. Alfredo Di Stefano arrived in the Spanish capital in 1953, and in 11 seasons with Los Blancos scored an astounding 307 goals in 396 appearances, a record which stood for 45 years before Raul broke it in 2009. But Di Stefano was much more than a goalscorer. As effective at tracking back and linking up play as he was putting the ball in the net, many credit him as being one of the first truly modern footballers. The explosive Argentine forward formed one of the all-time great attacking partnerships with Hungarian maestro Ferenc Puskás, and during his time in Madrid won a stonking 8 La Liga titles, missing out on the prize on just 3 occasions. The man who claimed he chose Madrid over Barca because he was a winner, not a loser, Di Stefano embodied the spirit of the merengues, so much so that the club named their B-team stadium after him. Forward, Telmo Zarra. At long last, we have a player from outside the El Clasico rivalry. Telmo Zarra may not be a household name in the wider footballing community these days, but mention him to any Athletic Bilbao fan and you won't hear the end of it. Born just down the river from Bilbao in Erandio, Zarra joined Athletic in 1940, and over the course of 15 seasons cemented his place as the most prolific Spanish striker of the 20th century. Right up until the era of Messi and Ronaldo, Zarra held the record for most La Liga goals for a full 59 years, with 251 strikes in total. What's more, he did it in just 278 games, making his goals-to-game ratio comparable with the current king of the Camp Nou. He also remains the player to have won the most Pichichi awards, topping the La Liga scorers list on 6 occasions, and despite only winning the league once with Athletic, contributed to 5 Copa del Rey victories. The man dubbed the best head in Europe after Churchill was also a great sport, even going as far to shoot wide on purpose on one occasion playing Malaga as he felt he had kicked the keeper while going round him. The Boquerones later awarded him a gold medal for his great act of kindness. Isn't that lovely? Forward, Francisco Gento. We had some trouble with this last position and unfortunately had to sacrifice Ferenc Puskás, but we couldn't have had anyone but this man take our left wing position. Francisco Gento was a revelation down the flank for Real Madrid in the 50s and 60s, playing alongside the likes of Santamaria and Stefano in one of the most devastating attacking sides ever. And Gento was particularly devastating. A speed demon who skinned fullbacks at will, he was allegedly able to run 100 metres in just 11 seconds. Amazingly, he also still holds the record for winning the most European Cups. With 6 to his name in total, that's one more than Paolo Maldini. And between 1953 and 1969, he won a frankly ridiculous 12 La Liga titles, meaning that in 18 seasons at the Bernabeu, in which he was club captain for 9, he missed out on the prize just 5 times.
So we hope you enjoyed that, and if you want to check out more of our videos, then click here on screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe and get on our Snapchat and our Twitter.